you know everything about the star sliding head SW12 machine. Paul, what are we going to learn today?
Well, we're going to learn about how this machine has reduced cycle times by 30% here at Technoturn thanks to the ability to balance turn. And guess what? It's really easy to learn.
And if you like this video, make sure you click on the like, comment, and if you have a question, we'll get back to you. What this machine behind me lacks in size, it certainly makes up for in output. This is the SW12, and Paul here is going to tell us all about it. Why did Technoturn invest in this machine?
Well, if you look around the machine shop, I think they've got about 8 or 10 stars already, but this machine offered them a little bit more flexibility, well, in fact a lot more flexibility, which is what we're going to find out about during this video. It has already improved some of their cycle times by 30% or reduced them by 30% as a result of some of the features on this machine. I think the important point to make here is that we so often look at machines that are 32mm. Everyone's trying to stretch the limits of sliding head turning to go up to 36 or maybe 40mm in the future, who knows. But this is a machine that's the other end of the scale, right the way down to 13mm diameter bar.
Now they wanted to make parts more efficiently, but with high detail, really. There's small parts, I mean, the size of these parts are unbelievable.
I need my glasses on to see it.
Well,
I really
some
would.
do, some do.
This part is tiny, but you can see that they're so small that to turn diameters of that size can cause so many issues with things like deflection and vibration. So this machine overcomes that as a result of having 2 gang tools. So you've got one at the front and one at the back, which allows you to basically use them simultaneously to balance turn.
Now let's talk about that. This simultaneous or balanced turning, what are the benefits? Because it does reduce vibration, doesn't it?
Well, this is, you imagine it, the best way to describe it is if you have a force from one tool going onto the bar, you can imagine that it's going to push it. Whereas if you have a force coming from the other side as well, it kind of counteracts that, which means that you can reduce any of those possibilities of vibration and deflection because you've got 2 forces going into the part. And you've got 2 forces opposing milling and drilling capabilities too. Yeah, correct. I mean, the balancing of this machine, this is why they bought this, because this means that they can now not only just remove more material because they can rough and finish at the same time, but they can do much smaller bar diameters work. And they were having problems previously in getting the right surface finish on that part, but that's not the case now because they've overcome it using the dual gang on this machine. Well, now it has an option of having the guide bush, non-guide bush. What are the benefits to this? Because I know when you're machining very, very closely to the guide bush as well. Well, that's right. I mean, if you can change them from one to the other quickly, this is by talking to Jonathan earlier, who's the operations director from the company. He was so glowing about the fact that these machines are so versatile these days. The fact that you can go from guide bush to non-guide bush, which means you can shorten the remnant of part, which means you're getting rid of less wastage. It means your work holding can be a little bit more secure on those non-guide bush applications. So you get more flexibility. You take a part, you look at it and you go, you know, what's the best way for me to make this to reduce the cycle time? And by having that guide bush, non-guide bush feature really helps as well. And the full length of the part, you can go up to 135mm, can't you? But often, what does Star often say? Because people sometimes get a bit nervous. Well, what you've got to do is you've got to imagine it's not just the making of the component, it's how you get it out of the machine. So you've got to be able to cater for all of those elements as well. It's not just the work holding, it's not just the making the part, it's actually the ejection of the component. So you need to consider all those things. But talking to someone like Star, who are experts, of course, in this field, they'll be able to guide you, throughout the whole process of purchasing. Okay, back spindle, you've got, is it the 8 spindle unit with the Y-axis? What are the benefits here? Yeah, okay, so with your tools on the back, you can obviously then attack the sub-spindle. What I found out about the second spindle on this machine as well is it has through spindle coolant and air, so it means as you are evacuating the part or ejecting the part, you can obviously make sure it's clean, contamination free, but of course things like Y-axis, additional axes, means you can do more complicated parts more quickly as a result of having more axes on it. Okay, let me tell you about the tools as well. The tools you've got are skewed hole drilling, 2 spindle counterface drilling, gear hobbing, slotting, polygon machining. Well, you've been doing some research here. Oh, I have, haven't I? Driven tooling as well. You've got 8 on the main spindle and 6 on the platen. This is really versatile. There is a lot going on in there. And just to pick up on another point. 15,000 RPM on the front and the back spindle. Most sliding head lathes we look at, you know, there might be 8,000 or 10,000. To go up to that speed, that further more increases or reduces the cycle times of cutting parts. Not just that, even on the driven tools you can go up to 12,000 RPM. So you can see you've got a lot of speed, you've got a lot of capability and a lot of flexibility. And things like the new software that Star offer means they can, you know, even further accelerate cycle times.
You've got the Star Motion Control that makes all of the processes more efficient as well. So all in all, anyone who is looking for, say, a sliding head machine, and what's quite interesting is the fact that this machine, it's not always about the size and going up for a bigger capacity, actually going smaller. What's the niche there with the SW12?
Well, I also want to say so that the niche is the very fact that even with things like the HFT software now, which means you get better chip control. It doesn't matter on the material types you're cutting as well, so you can run these unmanned for long hours on different materials. But the biggest point to say about these machines is the flexibility, the things we've mentioned. But furthermore, it's easy to adapt from a single gang machine to a twin gang machine. Yeah. I was speaking, in fact, to Gary earlier, and he reckons within less than a day's training, he was able to rethink how he's making parts now on this machine.
That's it.
He was able to think, actually, you know, I used to do it like that, I can now do it like this, because he's got more capability on the turret. So it's a very easy transition, a lot more flexibility, and even on those small parts that we're talking about.
Remind us of the savings, that 30%.
Yeah, application specific, as Gio would always say, but if you are looking at reducing cycle times, keeping machines running unmanned, then even on the smaller diameters, then of course Star can offer that with this very flexible SW12 RII.